Good morning. I promised you a video of us making maple syrup, and I'm going to do two videos. It's kind of the startup video of how this thing works, and then we'll actually show it in operation, which we're probably going to be pretty darn close to. I got up early this morning. First thing it is, I came out here, started a fire. Had the fire already, stacked and built, just had to light it. That's done. We've opened up the eastward side window, which we'll take you and walk you over to. Of the cupola, that is. That way we can vent. Right there, that window's down, so that will allow steam to come up. Now the wind, there was no breeze at all this morning, but I'm starting to get a wind a little bit from the northeast. I'll have to look at the weather and see what actually way it's coming from, because that actually dictates which way we'll put down the chimney. So let's head on in, because it's kind of cold out. It actually was snowing when I came out here. So there's our boiler. Shut the door. It warms up. Here's our firebox and our actual boiler pan. I've got a fire going inside, but we're gonna get that fire going hotter here in a couple seconds. The goal is, and there's actually, if you look, there's actually ice on this right now. It got cold last night, so we got to get rid of this ice. And also, again, the goal of this whole thing is to boil as fast as possible. So over here, I've got a switch that ties into a blower fan underneath this thing. So now we are blasting air inside of this. So if you saw the fire before, now let's take a look at the fire. Yeah, big difference. Remember, that goal is to get the fire as hot as possible, as fast as possible, because the faster we can boil, the less time it takes, the better. The whole goal of doing this is just to boil off all the water so that we keep the sugar and the flavor. So let me explain how we got this thing set up. So the whole heart of this operation is right up top. There's a 60-gallon barrel with two lines going into it. One at the very top where that clip is, you can see, and then one coming out. The one coming out so outside there's a spigot we'll hook into, and we'll actually pump up from here up into the barrel that fills up our gravity tank. And then, as you can hear, I call it a gravity tank because, well, it's gravity. Gravity then allows the sap to flow down. I've got a couple different valves on it to control it, just in case. So I've got a control valve there, which I'll just keep that open the whole time. And then this one here, which I'll dial in so that it matches the rate of evaporation. So that one we open up, it comes down into our hopper tank. So this hopper or saddle tank, whatever you want to call it, on the back of the actual boiler, it warms up the sap a little bit. Remember, the faster we can get it up to boiling, the better. But it's really just, if I didn't have that saddle tank, I would just, or that gravity tank up above, I would just fill this up with a bucket, every hour or so, not even, probably every 20 minutes. And then go from there, and then just use this to feed. So I still keep this around. It's nice just to have that, I think it holds 5 gallons of syrup or of sap, just kind of in backup in case something were to go wrong where I need to flood the pan or whatever. I'm not relying on my gravity tank. So if that makes sense, but it's nice. It does actually heat up the sap a little bit, kind of a preheater before it drops in the pan. So let's talk about this pan. The pan was built by Mason Welding out of Maine. Super nice. Yeah, you can see we're already starting to get steam. Again, faster we heat this up, the better. A super nice guy. The burner, or the boiler itself, the wood box, we built in the shop. Gosh, I think that was back in 2015, somewhere in there. It was a little side project we were working on. It's fully entombed with fire brick all the way around, and that fire brick is going to be glowing red here probably in the next hour. We've made some modifications, like the blower. We never used to have a blower on it. You'll see all this white insulation stuff. That's just to seal. It's ceramic wool to seal between the firebox and the actual pan. Yeah, there's the nameplate for the pan. I thought about welding up our own pan, But the stainless steel is like $300, and I think at the time that WF Mason, he charged like $350. So yeah, I mean, for $50, I had no experience building pans, and that guy did. Why not? So here's how it works. Move that over here, out of the way. Raw sap feeds in. In a little bit, we'll open up the spigot and just slowly start dribbling in. From there, the raw sap works its way down. And as it boils, the heavier sugar actually, believe it or not, works its way through the pan and will go in zigzag. It's actually the process of thermodynamics. Heat moving something. So anyways, yeah, you can see this pan's already starting to steam. We're getting close to boiling, probably in the next couple minutes. So then it moves its way down, and at the very end down here, you have a little bit of a drop. I shouldn't even say a drop. It's on the same level, but your heavier sugars will actually concentrate here, and then we can draw them off. I don't draw off. I basically leave it in a pan, and we'll let the pan cool down, and then I'll draw off, and then go process the syrup and filter it and so forth. And sometimes, well, I should say most of the time, it needs to be refined down a little more. In other words, just a little bit more of a boil. Yeah, we're getting really close to boiling now. So you can see all that steam, and it's going to be even more steam in a little bit. It goes up and gets sucked out of the cupola. So I'm going to set you down for a second because I got to throw firewood in. That's the downside of having a blower. We're throwing firewood in probably every 10 minutes or so. Again, we got to just feed it. So here I'm going to set you down the best I can. And I got anything to lean you up against? Okay, use that. And I do a lot of reading out here. Hey, there, we can sit you down right there. And McMullen, what are you burning? Leftover wood from building the barn. We ran the sawmill. It's slat wood or cant wood. It's literally the outsides of the log. We're using that right now. I've still got some of that left over. Otherwise, I try to burn ash. Again, we want something about that round or smaller. This stuff is thin, so it's going to burn fast, but get fast and hot. That's what we want. Do it there. How about this little piece of ceramic wall up there? Once in a while, our flames try to escape a little bit. Getting closer to boiling. But yeah, that's basically how this process works. I'll put a video in a little while when this starts to change color and when I get things running and get the gravity tank fired up. But it gives you a good idea how everything works. Kind of shows you our startup process and so forth. But I've got roughly 30-ish gallons, 40 gallons of concentrate from the reverse osmosis setup that you saw in the previous video to boil off this morning. And then, I don't know, I think that may be it for the season. There's a couple trees that have already started to open up their buds. Once buds open, I stop collecting because the sap starts to taste, well, like buddy, like woody. So, yep, we're boiling now. I can hear it. A couple parts of the pan are boiling. So, I'll come back in a little while and show you the whole process.